Welcome. I'm Lee Cowan, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. For musical superstar Usher, headlining the Super Bowl 58 halftime show is a dream come true, but surprising his kids with the news he'd been hiding for months, he told our Tracy Smith that made it even sweeter.
My kids were like, "Dad, you should play the Super Bowl." I'm like, "Oh, really? That's a good idea. Might want to pray about that." You should pray about that, man. If you feel like I really deserve it, man, let's just say a prayer together. So I'm like, but it was the sweetest treat, right, to know. It was like Christmas.
Later in the show, Usher on Las Vegas's impact on his career.
I've been to Vegas many times, and some people, they said, you know what, when artists are somewhat at the kind of end of their rope or end of their career, and they're kind of just either dialing it in, or either they just really want to celebrate the past, they come here to Las Vegas. Not for me.
That's not what you were doing.
If ever anyone said that Vegas is a place that you go to die, it wasn't for me. It was a place that brought me back to life.
Then, from the hottest ticket in the sports world to the hottest ticket in the social scene, circa 1966, that is, Mo Rocca brings us an inside look at author Truman Capote's black and white ball, attended by only the highest of high society.
The New York Times, the next day, published a list, the guest list. It was unheard of.
This was atypical because generally they would maybe do the list of, say, a White House state dinner.
Right.
Were people lobbying him?
It didn't work. He just loved turning people down.
Among the invited, Frank Sinatra and his then-wife Mia Farrow, Andy Warhol, Norman Mailer, Henry Fonda.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Las Vegas, host city for Super Bowl 58, is also home turf for Usher. Dubbed the new King of Vegas by GQ magazine for his wildly successful residency, taking center stage at the Super Bowl halftime show just might be his biggest achievement yet. Here's Tracy Smith.
Look at that view.
Yeah, it's nice.
You might say that Usher has the world at his feet these days. From his home near Las Vegas, he can see the site of the Super Bowl, and a moment he's dreamed of for most of his professional life.
Super Bowl.
Yep.
Have you, over the years, looked at that and said, I want to be there?
You know, everybody says they want to win a Grammy, or they want to win an Oscar or a Tony or an Emmy. The Super Bowl is something that everybody wants to play, you know? And here it is. It happened.
And it only took 30 years. In case he's not on your personal playlist, Usher is a global superstar who's won 8 Grammys, sold many millions of records, and created what is essentially the romantic soundtrack of a generation. And for the past year or so, he's been the hottest ticket in Las Vegas, with a residency that surpassed all expectations, on stage and on wheels. For Usher, it's all about putting in the work. Even after his show opened, he'd still practice hard instead of just skating his way through it all.
I don't sleep that much.
How many hours a night would you say?
On average, I say maybe 4.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, yeah. But it's good. You know, my creativity just doesn't allow me to really stop. You know, it's just like
always going.
Always going. Yeah.
I know you're a student of music history, of entertainment history. How much do you think about the greats who have come to this town before?
They're always in the front of my mind. I mean, the heart's history of, you know, African Americans who had to perform here and couldn't go through the actual casinos. Now to be here with the residency, it's like, man, what a whirlwind.
A whirlwind, indeed. Born in 1978 and raised in Chattanooga, then Atlanta, Usher Raymond IV started singing where so many greats got their start, the church choir. With his mother, Janetta Patton, by his side, he entered talent shows and would sing just about anywhere he could find an audience.
I was the artist, right, who basically stood on the corner and sang songs for change, right? I didn't have the opportunity to kind of sit down and play guitar, but I could sing. I didn't actually collect change. I wish I would have. At least got paid for what I was doing.
He was still a teen when he caught the eye of big-time music producer L.A. Reid.
I managed to impress him so much so that he asked me to be, his first, solo male artist, right?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He signed you on the spot.
Yeah. On the spot.
75 million records later, he's one of the biggest names in the business, an honorary doctor from Boston's Berklee College of Music.
I'm the Usher that everybody knows now. And trust me, it wasn't easy having that name as a kid.
Usher got that name from his father, Usher Raymond III, who left home when his son was still young. The two reconnected years later, shortly before the elder Usher died of liver disease.
When you became famous, you tracked down your dad.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
We had some good conversations that maybe helped me understand and maybe remedy some of the pain that I felt. I feel resolved about it because I did get some answers that I needed. I was conceived in love, regardless to whether my mother and father managed to make it. I know they loved each other, and I was a love child.
That was the answer you were looking for?
That was one piece of it. The other half had a lot to do with, why? Was it something I did? Was it something that was done?
You thought as a kid, was it something that I did?
Or did you just not want me? Was I not good enough? Was I not worthy enough of your actual presence, but I was giving your name? All of these things. And the one thing that he told me that was most valuable is, where I know I couldn't be there for you, I prayed that God could. So, man, I was like, wow, that's okay. Get it.
Safe to say his dad would be proud. Usher's album Confessions went diamond, meaning more than 10 million copies sold. And he's already trying to top it. He'll release his 9th studio album, Coming Home. He says the real challenge was keeping his Super Bowl appearance a secret from his kids.
There was like a moment in time where your kids were saying, Dad, you should do the Super Bowl, and you knew you were doing the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah. As of August the 11th, I knew. And I had to keep it a secret up until the grand unveiling for the world, and I couldn't let my kids know. So, like, any kind of documents I'm receiving, we had like a code word that we would only talk on the telephone to let it be known that we're discussing Utah,
Was that the code word, Utah?
That was a code word.
And when you were able to tell your family, what was the reaction?
It's funny, because my kids were like, Dad, you should play the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, really? That's a good idea. You might want to pray about that. You should pray about that, man. If you feel like I really deserve it, man, let's just say a prayer together. So I'm like, but it was the sweetest treat, right? To know it was like Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Your kids, you don't get a chance to surprise your kids that often anymore. It's like there's no fantasy moments.
But their prayers were answered.
Their prayers were answered. Yeah.
A few of his prayers will be answered, too. Usher actually dropped into the big show in 2011 with the Black Eyed Peas, but being the headliner himself is a pretty big leap. Usher says he hasn't settled on what comes next. He's testing the waters of a few different options.
Oh, yeah, it's good and warm.
Is it warm?
It's super hot.
Ooh, oh my gosh, that's nice.
He says his family always comes first, but right now there's another all-consuming thought. He's got a show to do.
I think I have done the job of 40 men. I have got to figure out how to get some rest after the Super Bowl.
You're saying that, but you're actually not going to.
I'll manage to get some sleep. Now, I got to talk to you about future tour. I got to talk to you about future residency and other things like that. It's like, I'll consider all of that after the Super Bowl. I told you, I don't really choose to celebrate that much because I'm always on to the next, right? Well, this moment I'm going to celebrate. This moment I'll be celebrating for the last 30 years of hard work that I put in and the time that I know I'm going to put in specifically for this performance. But I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to relax and I'm going to enjoy it.
Up next, an exclusive excerpt from Tracy Smith's chat with Usher, something you can only see right here on Here Comes the Sun. Stay with us.
I've realized that I'm going to do this as long as I can.
As promised, here's more of Tracy Smith and Usher.
You realized I need some sort of creative inspiration, and you came to Vegas.
Yeah, I think Vegas presented a challenge because I really had to find the true source. I remember as a kid saying to myself, if I find something that I'm willing to do and not be paid for it, but purely go there out of passion, then I've found something that is worth my time, worth the investment, and hopefully will yield a reward in time.
So did you find that thing when you came here that was maybe missing?
I was reminded of that thing that was missing when I came back here. I've been to Vegas many times, and some people have said, you know what, when artists are somewhat at the kind of end of their rope or end of their career and they're kind of just either dialing it in or either they just really want to celebrate the past, they come here to Las Vegas. Not for me.
That's not what you were doing.
If ever anyone said that Vegas is a place that you go to die, it wasn't for me. It was a place that brought me back to life.
Aside from kind of reinvigorating you musically, creatively, being here in Vegas, you also got this benefit of having a gig where you could come home and be a dad. What's that been like?
Well, residency offers the ability to do your job Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and you got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday in order to really connect. Rather it's with your kids, or rather it's to be able to enjoy life and the fruits of your labor, I love being able to be here with my kids. It's just an improvement of life to be able to be the father that I am to my kids, be able to share those incredible moments with them, be able to help them find their way, be able to be a family.
Has this residency been a surprise to you? I mean, you thought initially you were going to do so many shows, and then after that you thought you were going to do so many shows, and then it just got extended. Was the success of this surprising to you?
To be honest, I was in the middle of making an album, and I made a very bold choice. A choice that I've, been very happy to have reaped some benefit of this independence, right? I became an independent artist. Well, I decided that I wanted to be an executive of my own and start my own label. Mega is the name of my label. I am the first artist from our label. Mega is a new conversation. It's a coming home for me. I've been around the world. I've had incredible experiences, and of which I put them in these songs. So I came to Las Vegas and I celebrated, the catalog. I celebrated the catalog that I had built over 30 years, and it really gave me an opportunity to reflect and just make certain that not only that the love was there, but that I still loved it.
And
I do. I love it. I realize that I'm gonna do this as long as I can. Yeah, I'll be a businessman and do, other things and raise children and have an amazing life where I'm happy to see my kids go off to college and start businesses and become entrepreneurs or artists or, soccer players and swimmers and football, basketball, whatever. I'm gonna do all those things, but I know that entertainment is something that I will do for life. It is something that is a part of my fabric. I feel like I came to this planet to do something incredible through entertainment. And maybe I've done it, or maybe I'm doing it. I don't know.
Or maybe there's more yet to come.
Maybe there's more to come. Yeah, maybe there's more to come.
Up next, High Society in black and white. Welcome back. Eccentric literary figure Truman Capote was known for his lavish lifestyle, friendships with socialites, and throwing glitzy parties. But his 1966 black and white ball just might have been the party of the century. Rocca looks back at an event of such significance that CBS News even sent a reporter to cover it.
Good heavens, here comes John Kenneth Galbraith. The Maharani of Baroda is here, and the Baroness de Rothschild and Mrs. Lowell Guinness.
In November 1966, a parade of bold-faced names, dressed in their finest,
peacocked their way into New York's Plaza Hotel as CBS News correspondent Charles Kuralt, in his classic reporter's trench coat, set the scene.
And if those names don't mean anything to you, presumably you are not in the other half, and you will be interested in this little report on how the other half lives.
There was a reason a news network was covering this party. Author Truman Capote had invited 540 of his very closest friends.
Just an endless list.
Author Lawrence Leamer has written about Capote's extraordinary life, including his black and white ball.
The New York Times, the next day, published a list, the guest list. It was unheard of.
This was atypical because generally they would maybe do the list of, say, a White House state dinner.
Right.
Were people lobbying him?
It didn't work. He just loved turning people down.
Among the invited, Frank Sinatra and his then-wife Mia Farrow, Andy Warhol, Norman Mailer, Henry Fonda, and a 19-year-old model and actress. Do you remember getting the invitation to the ball?
No, and it was an invitation that people were clawing to get.
Yeah.
It was New York at its most vicious.
Candice Bergen was one of the guests. You knew that you'd have to get a mask.
Yes. Halston stepped in.
That would be Halston, the designer of First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy's pillbox hat.
He had designed a white mink bunny mask for Marisa Berenson.
Berenson, who became one of the highest-paid fashion models in the world. She was also at the party.
And she found something better. So Halston needed a person, and it was like, okay, you wear it, whoever you are. So I wore it.
As an author, Truman Capote is remembered for Breakfast at Tiffany's and the groundbreaking book In Cold Blood. As a personality, Capote captivated and mystified audiences in TV interviews. He also played a character not unlike himself in 1976's Murder by Death.
The victim is here at this very table at this very moment.
For Capote, the masked black and white ball was something of a social experiment.
In a masked ball, you see, for the first hours of it, before the unmasking, anybody can dance with anybody they want to or talk to anybody they want to. It's a completely free thing. And by the time the unmasking come, you made a lot of new friends. And that was the point.
The ball has been recreated in an episode of the new FX series Feud, Capote versus the Swans. The Swans were the wealthy socialite wives who confided in Capote. He would eventually betray them by revealing their secrets in writing.
It's an immensely cruel and nasty thing to do to your closest friends. It's unforgivable. How he thought they could forgive him is beyond me.
But his falling out with high society would happen later. When Capote threw his ball, he was at the height of his powers.
It was the ultimate fantasy for him. This poor little kid from Alabama could pull this off and get everybody to come there.
The very planning of the party was the talk of the town for months. The party's ostensible guest of honor, Washington Post publisher Katharine Graham. The party was really for
Truman Capote.
Do you think that Truman had a good time at his own party?
Well, did he ever have a truly good time? I don't know. I'm sure he had a massive adrenaline rush. And obviously it was.
The one we present to the world. And
Tom Hollander plays Truman Capote in the FX series, which doesn't gloss over the author's dark side.
It's carnival. It's everything I've dreamt of since I was a little boy, this kind of true nakedness.
He was addicted to alcohol. He was also addicted to high society. It made him feel good, but it was not good for him. He should have been at his desk.
What was it in his personality that compelled him to throw this party?
Well, the point and fun of having a party is who you don't invite.
A deep inferiority complex.
So much fear there.
It's all fear.
John Robin Bates wrote the series.
I always think he could have had another 25, 30 years if he had followed the advice of clean up and go into exile.
When Capote threw his ball, he was coming off the huge success of In Cold Blood. It would be the last of his books published in his lifetime. He died 18 years later at age 59.
Do you think most people there had a good time at the party?
No, I don't think people had fun, but like all things in hell, they pretended they were having a good time.
Do you think that a party could happen today and get that kind of attention?
I hope not. It's too much.
Yeah.
I think it was a huge piece of theater for Truman.
Right.
And it worked.
Would you say you had fun there?
I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I had to be focused. It's like, pay attention here.
Do you still have the mask?
No. I had to return the mask.
If you were rich enough, or social, or beautiful enough, you would have been here to see for yourself. And as somebody said, unkindly, if we were rich enough, or social, or beautiful enough, we wouldn't be standing out here in the halls. Charles Kuralt, CBS News, New York. Okay.
I'm Lee Cowan. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here next time on Here Comes the Sun.